Naseem Hamed.
Come on, Naseem, stay in your corner, right? Don't tell everybody's out, man. Okay, man, this is what it's all about. Remember, protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. May the best man win. Touch up. Let's go. Come on, guys. Touch it up. All right, let's do this.
Inquiring minds want to know, is Hamed a prince or a frog?
George, what's your hunch? Who has the psychological upper hand as the result of all that took place in the last 12 minutes?
Well, the prince is doing his thing. When another fighter starts to partake in it, he's at a disadvantage. And that's what happened. Kelly started to go into the wrong kind of stuff. He didn't need that.
He got into Naz's world. It'll be interesting to see if it diminishes him in any way.
He started to trash talk. The next thing you know, he'll start fighting trashy.
They're both southpaws, although with Naseem Hamed it hardly matters. He will whirl and spring in the air. He'll throw punches at odd angles from either side. Kevin Kelly has an outstanding right jab. First hard punch of the fight is a straight right hand by Naseem.
And the first jab was landed by the Prince Hasim. Naseem, he landed the first jab. You don't want that.
And he lands two more. Naseem fighting more conventionally in the first minute of the fight than many of us had been led to expect.
You don't want to find yourself, if you're Kevin Kelly, waiting to see what he's going to do. You got to get out there, establish yourself on the pure basics. Jab, right hand hook, bob and weave. You don't want to get out there waiting.
Kelly has missed with most of his punches so far. Hamed has been able to land straight right hands. Now Hamed switches to a conventional stance.
Kelly, it seems, has a bad right eye. He seems to react as soon as it's touched by any punch.
Well, you saw the swelling in the Derek Gainer fight, the bad swelling on both eyes in the Alejandro Gonzalez fight. Kevin Kelly's had 50 pro fights, and he's been in too many wars for the taste of most of his supporters. They want to see Kevin box.
So far, Hamed has beaten Kelly to the punch with both hands.
The good thing about Kelly, the fight is on no matter what. If it goes into 6th round, he still believes that I can get a knockout, so he's willing to waste a few rounds.
First 2 minutes of the fight, Hamed is a puzzle that Kelly is unable to solve. But down goes the Prince on Kelly's first serious landed punch. A looping right hand put Hamed down. Second time in his career he's been down in the first round. Puerto Rican Daniel Alisea was able to do it too. Also in the first round, but then Hamed came back to knock him out in the second.
We all were wondering what was going to happen when he caught a punch from Kelly. We saw it.
Yeah, Kelly believes in his power, so you'll never discourage him, even if his eyes are swollen, if he's cut.
Kelly just missed with a hard left hand. Hamed switches into a conventional stance. Kevin, for a couple of beats, was in a conventional stance himself. Now he goes back to his regular southpaw. Hamed switching from side to side as he faces the man who has floored him in the first round.
And you gotta be focused for me. I need you to really slow your heart down. Water, I got that. Spit. Spit. You need to look at me. You need to really look at me. There's two things we gotta do.
Don't go looking for him. Just off your job. You'll hit him with your bombs, but keep your right hand.
Now watch Hamed commit a cardinal sin in boxing, leaning back after throwing a flurry. Kelly was there and caught him. Can't do that with a top fighter. A little bit of hubris there a little bit of overconfidence, thinking that it couldn't happen to him. It did.
Go, go, go.
CompuBox numbers show Kevin Kelly landed only 10 punches in the first round, but it only took one to do the damage which won him the round.
I think it was a wonderful feat by Naseem to be able to get knocked down and then have your opponent running from you at the end of the round. He got up and made Kelly run. Now they will get a good, powerful right jab by Kevin Kelly.
Strong jab, backs Naseem up, Naseem in the ropes. First time he's been in the ring with a fighter of Kevin Kelly's class. The wonderful thing coming into tonight was you knew that anything could happen. And one of the things that could happen would be that the Prince was exposed as a fraud. His gloves touch the canvas, the count begins. The second knockdown for Kelly. So one knockdown in each round now for Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, I think the last knockdown was fluke.
Kelly was down. I thought that was a knockdown that Kelly should have been scored for a knockdown.
Angie Esteves waved it off and ruled it a slip. So it does not count as a knockdown against Kelly. Hamed's been down twice. The knockdown, the apparent knockdown of Kelly ruled a slip. Hard right hand inside by Kelly.
The Prince has not seen this kind of power before.
Well, but Hamed is supposed to have power of his own with his quickness, and we haven't seen the evidence of that as yet.
I think the mistake he made.
There we
Hard
saw
right
it right
hand,
there.
and there's the power. There's the power you were talking about. And Kelly is stunned.
Hey, come on, baby.
And Hamed nods to him. Now we're in a fight.
Clean break, no. Watch that over, watch that over. Let's go.
And Kelly gets out of his boxing stance and decides to go to war. Now he settles back.
The more Naseem decides to be orthodox, the more trouble he gets himself into. So it's at his advantage to stay wild. Drop your hand, make this guy wait for you.
Kelly lands a hard chopping left and another. Naseem seemingly beginning to weather Kevin's punches a little bit better.
You can see Naseem is trying to get the rhythm to Kelly, and he's not able to do that.
Dropping his hand, switching from side to side. Now he goes back into a boxing stance.
5 seconds.
Round two is going to come to a close, having seen knockdowns for each fighter.
We don't see this very often in one round, a fighter getting knocked down twice. You saw that Kelly landed a left and then a right. The first one was a knockdown. The referee was a little late getting in as he got up again. But he did bounce up, give him that, and they're flush on the jaw. Kelly, like Junior Jones, his pal in the first fight, got a little cocky with his power, left himself open, and caught one from Hamed.
And that's what was ruled a slip right there, Larry.
Seconds out.
It could have been ruled a knockdown. It wasn't. Turned out okay. On my scorecard, Hamed won that round because even though they split knockdowns, his knockdown was more convincing and he landed more punches in the rest of the round.
Naseem is getting hit with punches. He's causing himself to be off balance by throwing his head back and forward. But the knockdown that Kelly received was a true knockdown, not off balance, pure power.
Well, Naseem breaks so many rules of textbook boxing, it's as though he not only hasn't read the book, he hasn't looked at the table of contents. Leans his head back, ducks from side to side, trying to get away from punches. Takes a hard left from Kelly there. And lands a hard right hand of his own.
That was power by Naseem.
Well, one time he's going to leap too often and he may leap right into a Kelly punch, and that would be it. As Phil Borges said, if he leaps, he sleeps.
Kevin Kelly's got true power. He's real accurate with his straight left hand.
Oh, when you're fighting against a powerful, good boxer like Kevin who has good balance, you better watch your own balance. And bad balance contributed to that second Kelly knockdown of Hamed in round 2. Now Kevin starting to try to establish the straight right jab.
That was a good jab by Kevin Kelly that did some damage.
Kelly lands a left cross. Hamed ducking, sliding along the ropes. Not throwing as many punches in this round. Hamed seeming to have gone into a little bit of a caution state here as the result of the damage that Kevin Kelly's been able to do.
Yeah, it's the jab by Kevin Kelly that's being most effective now. If he just maintained that right jab, he can make this an easy fight.
And as we pointed out, that's another thing Phil Borges said. He said, my man has the better jab and the longer reach. How's Hamed going to get past that? In other fights, he's had his ways, but he hasn't been in with anybody as good as Kevin Kelly.
Hamed seems to see dropping his hands in there is not getting him any advantage. So dropping those hands with Kelly can cause good night. Got to keep your hands up with a guy like Kelly.
Right now, Hamed seems less unorthodox than just confused on how to break through Kelly's guard.
They trade right hands. Kevin's was the harder of the two. Good left uppercut by Prince Naseem. Right hand lands again as well. Naseem starting to come out of his shell and get more aggressive again.
You want to say to Naseem, stop pulling back with your head, but then you lose the total fighter.
You wanted to say that to Muhammad Ali too.
Yeah, but you lose the total fighter because they do what they do. It makes them so good.
Let's go.
Face that way. Sit down. Sit down. Good boxer. Look at me.
You're not listening.
If you don't use your jab and if you don't move your head, we're going to run into difficulties, and I don't want that. What we worked on to get this guy out of here was our tempo. Correct?
Gotcha.
When you're hunting a peanut, think what you did to Craig. Think what you did to Flat Top.
that body.
Think what you did to Judah. Think all these things, how you let them hands go. Why all...
Bang, step back, bang, step out. You get him up. You got me? Just don't get in a war with him. Pick him off. You will gradually break him up off your jab.
Yeah.
Just and bing, bing. Bang, then come back with it. Got me? You break him up on it. He's had his fun now. He's had his fun. You start giving it to him.
So now it's Brendan Engel, Prince Naseem's trainer ever since he saw him on a schoolyard when he was 7 years old, asking his fighter not to get into a war. He wants him to pick Kelly off with his jab. Ping, ping.
That's not an easy thing to do. When you're fighting a boxer with a jab, you almost have to war. Get into a war. Kelly's got a good right jab.
He sure does. Naseem lands a couple power punches. Kevin Kelly lands a hard left hand. Kelly misses with the right and misses wildly with the right. But Naseem not in a position to counter either time. Hard left hand up top by Prince Naseem Hamed.
Okay? Watch the head. Let's go. Watch that elbow.
Seems that Kevin Kelly is getting the best of the counterpunch, and you would expect the opposite.
They trade in short bursts and flurries. Naseem landing more accurately in this round than has been the case before, but taking some leather in return. Down goes Kelly on two hard left hands.
6, 7, 8. Give me your hands. Back up.
Now they're even. Both fighters down twice in the fight.
Ooh, a good straight
Blistering
left
right hand by Hamed. Kelly a little slow to respond here.
You got to be careful mixing up with Kelly because he can fight.
That's going to be ruled a knockdown as Naseem's glove grazed the canvas. So there's the count for that. Third knockdown of Hamed by Kelly, and the Naseem advocates in the crowd boo that. Hard left hand by Kelly, and a right hand shot. Leaping right hand by the Prince, and a hard left, and Kelly's down for the third time.
Whoa!
6, 7, 8, 9.
He's got a half a minute, and he
He's
is
gone.
definitely hurt.
He's
and the
for real.
fight is over.
He's for real. The Prince is for
Unbelievable
real.
punching power, George.
It's almost like De La Hoya. You don't know where they get the power from.
What we just saw was the Hagler Hearns of featherweight fighting. We have never seen a fight like this in the featherweight division on this level.
Unquestionably the most memorable fight of 1997, and Kevin Kelly doesn't want it to end.
What were there in this fight? 6 knockdowns?
All right, let me give it to me. Let me give it to me.
Ever boxed.
And I'm the best. And you're gonna do it again, right? And you're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
You're gonna do it again.
Stop for more money, motherfucker. I gotta kill the canvas boy.
We're gonna do this again. Let's go. Give me water. Give me water. Sit down.
You heard
Sit down.
Hamed say to Kelly, "You're the best I ever boxed, and I'm the best you ever boxed."
Whoa.
I'm telling you, they like each other. It is abundantly clear from the body language. And you heard Phil Borgia, Kevin Kelly's trainer, trying to get Hamed to commit to a rematch right there on the spot. And George, who wouldn't want to see it again?
Oh, I would love to see it again. I want to see that entry again.
Everything he said he was, and more. Prince Naseem Hamed.
The difference, power. When you have power and people underestimate you, you can win a lot of fights.
George, this was like your fight with Ron Lyle. Gunslinger against gunslinger.
Boy, this guy's got power all in his hand. He's not putting his body into it, just hand speed.
That was the first Prince Naseem knockdown of Kelly in that round. Then here's the Prince going down.
I don't really think that was a knockdown. I think that this guy stooped so low, he has a tendency to touch his hands down to the canvas.
Well, if his glove grazes the canvas, the referee is within his rights to rule it a knockdown, and Benji Esteves did. And then that stunning left hand, and Kevin Kelly unable to get up from that left hand. He couldn't beat the count, and Esteves very properly waved an end to the bout.
A lot of that is, I just can't believe it. Kelly has that look. He just does not believe this guy can knock him down.
Well, Kevin's people have been saying for weeks, we want him to box. We hope he doesn't indulge his tendency to get into a war. He couldn't resist it. Couldn't resist it. It seemed too easy.
But this Prince, he has the Prince of power. Talk about the Prince of power. We've seen one in the
5 feet
lighter
3
weights.
inches tall, but George at 5'3", of course, he's a little stockier than other featherweights.
He seems to have all his power in his legs.
And let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we give the official time, how about a round of applause for the great effort by these two featherweights in the ring at this time, Kevin Kelly and the Prince. The official time, 2 minutes, 27 seconds of round number 4. Referee Benji Esteves calls a halt to the bout. The winner and still the undefeated WBO featherweight champion of the world, Prince Naseem Hamed.
That's right. We are positive. They are going to do it again.
We can do this again. Right now. This is a big fight. Anyone's fight. Unbelievable. Absolutely right.
Well, we know now that even if Larry Merchant kisses the Prince, he ain't going to turn into a frog. Final punch stat numbers. Hamed landing 81 to Kelly 72. Most of the punches were power punches, particularly in the third and fourth rounds. Total punches thrown, Hamed throwing many more in the last couple of rounds to ultimately have a 30-punch edge there. They both connected a very high percentage, more or less at will with power punches in rounds 3 and 4. It was like two gunslingers in the Old West, like Hagler Hearns, like Foreman Lyle, and it wound up in favor of the Prince. Jabs, an afterthought at this point. But look at that. Who would have thought Prince Naseem would throw more jabs than Kevin Kelly? And Larry Merchant is standing by with the Prince.
All right, Naseem, congratulations.
Thanks a lot, my man.
You describe what happened in this fight tonight.
Well, first of all, I come out the first round, and I know my jab was too clean and nice and fast, but still, I wanted a bit of a fight. I wanted to cause so much excitement in this arena. It's my first night, it's my first fight in New York, Madison Square Garden, and I wanted to show the people here that I can fight. I can take it on the chin, and I can give it. End of the day, he caught me some great shots. All due respect to Kevin, but I wanted to basically take him out, and I just want to show all my skill on the night. I wanted to make it look exciting for everybody, so I had to take some shots. But I give my shots. Now, I took his, but did he take mine?
Well, we're going to watch round 1 and the knockdown in round 1 when you were knocked down. Were you?
My hair looked good.
Were you stunned by what was going on here? Was he presenting a different picture than you imagined?
I didn't really see the shot, so I've got to give it him. But look at me, straight up. That's the heart of a lion. That is a heart of a lion.
Right.
A champion's heart, straight up. Compose myself, get back. Even though I got hit with some good shots, I came back and I gave him my shots, and he didn't take my shot. No.
You fought in what appeared to be a more orthodox fashion than you have in other fights. Explain why.
Because I was here, it's my first time in Madison Square Garden. I wanted to cause some exciting. I wanted a fight. I know I can fight. I know when it comes down to it, when it comes down to heart and the heart of a champion and getting in there and taking the fight, whatever you've got to take, you've got to give. And I give mine, and he gave his, and he couldn't take it. I knew.
When did you sense that he was weakening and that he couldn't really take your power?
Well, I started getting closer and closer. I knew once I hit him. Now, he went down before I took him out, and the referee looked in his eyes, and he couldn't take any of it. He couldn't take no more. If the referee let me at him again, it'd have been the best.
All right, here's this.
Look at that. There you go. There you go. Now, if I didn't walk up to him as fast as I did,
that was
he wouldn't
in the
get
second
up.
round.
There you go. All I hit him with a perfect right hand. Now look, you can see him smiling, but he knows the pain. I was smiling when he hit me. I was smiling, but at the end of the day, my feet was back together, my head was clear. I got up straight away, composed myself, and took him out.
It seemed that both of you both liked and respected each other.
Definitely. Kevin is a very, very nice guy. I get on with Kevin, I got on with Tom Johnson, all the American fighters, the great guys in and out the ring. So at the end of the day, I just want to fight. And I did that, and I took him out. I came to America, I proved myself. I'm 29-0. What can I say? The last time they've all gone knockouts now from 94. I've stopped every one of them from 94.
Repeat what you said to Kevin at the end of the fight.
Kevin, you're probably one of the best I've boxed, if not the best. I know I'm the best you've boxed, and he said that to me and all. And we've got great respect for each other, but at the end of the day, I am the world champion, and people have got to realize I am the champion of the world.
Thank you very much, Prince. Jim, George.
All right, well, George, here's the good news. As long as the carousel continues, this contract stretches for 6 fights, and the Prince isn't asking for any gimmies. He'll fight Kennedy McKinney, he'll fight Wayne McCullough, he'll fight Marco Antonio Barrera, he'll fight Derek Gainer, he'll fight Arturo Gatti. You pick any name at 122, 126, or 130, and this guy says he's ready to fight him.
And you know, for the first time, I want to be at all of those boxing matches. I've enjoyed myself tonight. I've never seen anything like it.
You're going to be at all those boxing matches.
I'm going to be there. I love it.
That smile is going to get bigger and bigger. But at the end of the day, as long as he keeps sticking his chin out and getting hit like that, doesn't it stand to reason that some faster gun is going to come along?
Oh, it happens in boxing anyway, but look, we're going to enjoy ourselves until it happens. It's wonderful. I mean, I feel real good about this.
You should launch another career and try an entrance like that. You missed that.
That was some kind of silhouette. I don't know if I have.
Did you let somebody else get to that first when it could have been your thing?
This guy's beautiful. He's a prince, the prince of entertainment.
Will we see other fighters, particularly in the higher weight classes, trying to fight with that extraordinarily unusual style that he exhibits.
Something is going to have to happen because, listen, how do you top this show? If you're a boxer sitting in your home watching this, you say to yourself, I've got to reinvent myself. If I'm going to go back out in Madison Square Garden and places like this, I can't come out with the old robe and hup 2, 3. I've got to do something to reinvent my career. This guy would probably revolutionize entries of boxers.
Well, leave aside the bizarre biting incident in Las Vegas. Everything Oscar De La Hoya accomplished this year, Roy Jones's remarkable revenge victory over Montel Griffin, this unquestionably the most memorable fight of 1997, and not least of all because of the valiant Kevin Kelly, who's with Larry Merchant right now.
If I would have kept to what he was saying, I would have stick to the game plan. It would have been
Okay, Kevin, thank you very much for a terrific and a memorable fight. You give us your version of what happened and why it happened to you at the end.
Well, the biggest thing, I'm so sorry to people in New York. I was protecting my house and my house that Ruth built. I deviated. That's what I did. Phil was telling me the right information. We trained the right way, and what happened was I had him big time. I could hurt him when I hit him. I hit harder than he did. And I felt his power. It wasn't as big as he said it was. It wasn't bigger than everybody thinks it is. And I showed him mine. And when I showed him mine, I hurt him. And the difference was, I blame myself for getting overanxious and becoming acceptable to get hit by him.
When you hit a guy that hard and you knock him down, there's a tendency to believe you can do it again and want to get rid of him, right?
I did it many times, and that's what happened. I kept doing it. I continued to do it, but the problem was I wanted to keep him there. And because I wasn't keeping him there, I started getting overanxious, and that's when I got caught with the first punch that knocked me down. It was more of a flash knockdown, but like I said, I get up and I continue.
All right, let's take a look at what happened in round one, your knockdown of him.
Right here, I'm setting him up. He's getting overanxious. I noticed when I hit him with the first punch, I said, man, every time I hit him, I hurt him. Everybody says about crystal chins. One thing about him, I showed tonight, he's not as good as he says he is. He's a good fighter. I give him most due respect. He's champion tonight. He came on top. The only reason I'm not champion tonight, I want to let everybody know, no fear, who endorsed me, and EA, or sports game, which I'm coming out on, the reason I lost tonight because I deviated from my trainer's thoughts.
Well, but then he gets credit for making you deviate, doesn't he?
No, I deviated because of me. I'm the kind of fighter that Phil always tells me, my wife always tells me, my father tells me, I'm my worst enemy.
All right, let's turn to the end of the fight and your memory of what happened. If we can get there, you have suffered one previous knockdown in this round.
Well, here I'm trying to set him up with the jab. He's very careless. He does a lot of mistakes. Here with the overhand left. As you can see, I'm down, but I'm not really that hurt. I'm gonna stay down a little wobbly, but just like okay, cool. I'm understandable. I'm gonna get up to count of 8. I got to count of 8. Take the rest. You see me, I'm a veteran at this. I know what it is to get knocked down. I figure I'll take the full rest. Phil was telling me grab him. I'm looking at the corner. I want to come back. I want to come back. Because what happens is when he starts loading and throwing, he starts getting overanxious himself, and he was getting caught.
But you have to give him credit for his power. He came into you. He came into your building, and he took care of business.
He came in my building, but one thing he said, I'm the best fighter he's ever fought, never will fight. The bottom line is that
Let's see if we get the rematch they said we did.
I can do it again down the road somewhere. Right now,
Kevin, you were just a part of the Hagler Hearns of the featherweight division. You have nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, I started this. I'm happy. I'm content. My wife's content with everything that's went on. She's a little angry at what has happened in this whole event. But hey, Kevin Kelly came. He showed that Ahmed is not the fighter everybody says he is. Not the Roy Jones.
Thank you a lot, Kevin. Jim.
All right, well, the good news for Kevin Kelly and his wonderful wife, Val, and their family is that Kevin will cash the biggest paycheck of his career by a wide margin tonight. Obviously, some of that he owes to the glamour of Prince Naseem Hamed. When Hamed knocked out Tom Johnson, his detractors turned around and said, well, Johnson was shot. Kevin comes in with 50 pro fights. Obviously, Naseem's detractors are going to turn around again now and say, well, Kevin was shot. What about that?
Oh, he's going to shoot everybody he fights. And I believe what happened, you get shot in the dressing room waiting for this big occasion. They always shot. And he's going to keep shooting a lot of guys until they learn, hey, this guy has power. He doesn't look like it. Like Muhammad Ali, you're supposed to whip him, but for some reason, you don't.
When Kelly knocked him down in the first round, you might have thought that the Prince would lose his psychological mastery of the event.
So far away from home, you would expect it from a young fighter.
But he didn't.
No, he showed bravery, and that's another addition to his repertoire. This guy's got a lot of things that we're going to be really having a good time watching in the years to come. Boy, I want to sit right at ringside. I don't think I want to box anymore. I want to watch
Look at that smile, folks. I'm telling you.
I had a good time.
Good to see you so happy, George. Let's turn now to Larry Merchant. Larry, We expected something memorable, and I don't think we could ever have anticipated in our wildest dreams that it would be this memorable.
A lot of music in and out of the ring tonight, Jim, and there is a new British rock group called Chumbawamba, I believe. And the chorus to one of their songs goes, "You knock me down, I'm going to get up again. You're never going to keep me down." That's what happened here tonight. Two champions couldn't be kept down. And that's what's great about this game.
5 more fights in the contract, folks. Stay with us as the Prince Naseem Hamed carousel continues here on HBO Sports. And we'll have more on what happened in the ring here in just a moment. Let's look ahead to some upcoming programs.